Hey y'all, what's up? My voice is a little raspy, but I wanted to make sure I came on here and share this message that has been on my mind for a little bit. Um, so oftentimes I will hear females talking about their child's father or their baby daddy in a significantly degrading way. Um, and being someone who was a single mom to my firstborn child, I definitely get how the emotions, the roller coaster, dealing with your baby daddy or your child's father can like really impact you, right? But one of the things that I think is important to recognize, and I often think about this when females are talking negatively about their child's father or their baby daddy, however you want to refer to them, one of the things that I think about is like, well, then how did he get access to your portal, right? Like, how was he able to enter you? How was he, this person who is supposedly like a bitch ass this or a deadbeat that? How was he able to penetrate you, right? How did that happen? Did you know that he was all these things before you allowed him to? Or did something change, right? Because oftentimes there are indicators. We know what's going on with a person, whether we met them and they weren't really working or they weren't really taking care of their other children or their ambition was spotty. There was something that we knew that their own responsibilities weren't taken care of. So they probably weren't going to take care of another human's responsibilities, right? So then the question becomes, how did you allow that to happen? And this is the kind of healing that's important for women to have, because sometimes we are so busy pointing the finger at another person that we don't see the opportunity in the pain to be able to grow, right? So not letting another man like that have access to you, where you bring a child into this world and then you go through the same thing. This is sometimes why you see women with 3, 4 baby daddies, right? Or different fathers for all their children, is because they didn't take the time to sit down and heal through each of these situations, right? Through each of these children, and to be able to grow to attract something different. So when I say that your child's father or your baby daddy is a reflection of you, that man reflected where you were in your life at that point. Now, perhaps you've evolved from that point. This is not me saying like you was dumb or you were this or you were that. What I'm saying is perhaps in that time of your life, you weren't as aware, right? Maybe there was self-esteem issues. Maybe you was involved in a certain lifestyle. Maybe you was in a dark place. Maybe you just you didn't see healthy relationships growing up, so you didn't know how to recognize red flags. You were consumed in your trauma. Whatever the reason, this man reflects an experience or a time frame in your life. So let's just say you were like, oh, I got, pregnant at 20 years old by this dude, and now I'm realizing he ain't doing what he's supposed to do. Well, I would have a lot of questions. Was he doing what he was supposed to do when y'all were in a relationship? How were his basic needs met? Did he already have a house? Was he already stable on his own? What were the indicators that he was going to be able to be a provider for another person? How well was he providing for himself at that time, right? And sometimes we do just kind of ignore those things because we're living in the moment. And so one of the things that I like to encourage is for us to look at ourselves. Using myself, for example, when I was a single mom, I was going through like a really revealing process. It was a dark process. Like I was kind of sorting through my flaws, sorting through negative aspects of myself. And at that time, I just kind of wanted acceptance and validation from anyone. And so when that person came along and was providing me that, I overlooked perhaps everything that he had going on in his world. That's my fault, right? Like he didn't dupe me. He didn't trick me. None of those things happened. I just overlooked whatever he was going on in his life. And I just thought, like, you know what? We both about to build ourselves back up. We just had different ideas of how that looked. And so whether or not I feel like my son's father did what he needed to do for his child, one of the things that really allowed me to never get online and promote hostility, or when I'm talking to other people, promote hostility or hatred or anything, and still have a lot of love for him, is that one, he's a reflection of exactly who I was during that time. I was in a dark space mentally. I was building myself back up. I think he was building himself back up. That's the space that I was in. And so everything wasn't all pretty. I was still living home with my mom. I got pregnant home with my mom. I was recovering from a spiritual awakening / mental health stuff. There was a lot going on in my life. And so I'm thinking like, okay, he's kind of in the trenches like me, building ourselves back up. So it wasn't something that I was aware of it, but not enough to think of like, oh, if me and this man ever had a child together, he would not, like, it would impact how he shows up for his son. I'm not thinking that, right? So at the end of the day, I attracted exactly who my son's father was, right? So through no fault of his own, he's literally a reflection of who I was and what I was going through at that time. And so there is no hatred there, because if I look at my son, if I have any hatred towards this man, I will have hatred towards my son, right? So instead, what I choose to do is focus on the positives, right? He has a sense of humor. He's a go-getter. He's a thinker. I've seen him finesse some stuff. I choose to see all those qualities in my son. And so that's what has been able to help me to be able to not have that hatred. Because if I hate him, I have to hate myself because I attracted him. So when we want to talk about our child's father or our baby daddy, not doing this or not doing that or not doing this, it's like you attracted that, sis. And I'm not saying this to make you feel bad, but the beautiful part is like you can attract something different if you're just willing to sit down and take ownership of like, this is the type of man I attracted. This is the type of aura I was putting out. So therefore, this is the kind of man that gravitated me towards me in that time. Now, I get there's exceptions to the rule where maybe you met a man, he went through something transformational, and that impacted what kind of father he was, or XYZ. I do get there's exceptions to the rules. But the beautiful part is like, for majority of us, we attracted that man, and whether or not it's because we transformed as people, maybe we got better and we recognize like, hold up, this ain't working for us. Or hold up, I didn't realize this. Or hold up, I didn't realize that. So then we end up being like, oh, you deadbeat and you're not this. But had we looked at the situation in totality, we probably knew there was already a recipe for that man to be that type of father, right? Or show up that type of way. Everybody is on their own journey, right? And so when you look at like a lot of our Black men, a lot of them don't have secured housing. A lot of them, like, look at the song Put That Woman First. This man said, if it wasn't for me working, right, which means like he was trying to put money in his pocket, doing double up overtime, right? Like if it wasn't for all these things, I could have put that woman first. But he was trying to survive, right? So his main priorities weren't taken care of. So he was in no position to prioritize another woman, right? That doesn't change because a man has a child. For some, it does. I get it. There's an exception to the rule. What I'm talking about is maybe the fathers that are not showing up the way that we want them to, or prioritize other things. There's that natural instinct where it's like, dang, like, you feel some resentment. But just thinking about it on an individual, if a person's housing, insecure, food is insecure, doesn't know the next time they're going to eat, etc., etc., etc. It's hard to take care of another human, right? So when you think about it and you think about your situation, right? Think about like, okay, what was I going through when I attracted this man? Okay, he's a direct reflection of who I was. And maybe you're disappointed with yourself because you're not proud of that time in your life. That's absolutely fine. The only thing I encourage you to do is just to be real with yourself, because this man is giving you exactly what he would have given you from day one with the child, right? So with that being said, there is always opportunity for growth. There is always opportunity to remove that hatred so that you can move on and attract something different. Just wanted to share this message. I know it can be difficult, but I know you have it in you. So just sending love and light as you go through the process.